right, viewers, let's start with the top focus. Now, US President Donald Trump said that he is not worried about Venezuela turning into another Iraq or Afghanistan. Trump stressed that the US focus is to manage Venezuela in a way that allows America to benefit from the country's economic resources, especially its oil. This comes after Maduro and his wife were captured in Caracas and brought to the US, where they will face drug trafficking charges in New York. Trump said the US will temporarily run Venezuela and get the oil flowing during the transition. Secretary of State Marco Rubio later clarified that the US does not plan to govern Venezuela directly, but will continue to enforce an oil quarantine to influence policy. Maduro's capture came after months of military preparation and strikes on drug-laden boats in the Caribbean. All right, joining me now in this discussion is retired Major General G.G. Dwivedi, who's a defense analyst, and he joins us from New Delhi. Well, thank you very much, General, for joining us in this discussion. I believe it's the first discussion that I'm having with you post Trump's actions in Venezuela. To start with, let's talk about Trump's plan of action from here on. He has Maduro now. He will be produced in court later tonight. But what about Venezuela? Venezuela's Supreme Court has asked for Rodriguez, the interim, the vice president, to take over as the acting president, but that's not what Trump would like to do. He wants to run the country on his own accord. My question to you is, how will he do that? How does he plan to run? Of course, no statement has come from the US as of now, but what's your assessment as to what his likely action is going to be?
Thanks, Kriti. Always a pleasure to be on the NewsX World. While with you, I am discussing this issue for the first time, but I have been on your channel for last 2 days and discussed the issue in various dimensions. Well, you have posed a very direct question. There are two elements or the two components of the question. One is that how, Maduro and his wife will be tried in US, that's a legal dimension. And second is how US plans to run Venezuela, that is the second question. Well, first and foremost, it's very difficult to run another country by a neighbor. That doesn't actually make much of sense. Well, if you interpret it, what US will try to do is to have a government in Venezuela which is favorable to it or which is well aligned to it, and then control the narrative through that government. And that's what President Trump has issued a very strict warning, a very stern warning to current officiating President Delcy Rodriguez, that either she supports the US government or he will go for possibly a second strike to ensure that the dispensation in Venezuela toes the American line. So that's what America would try to do, to have a government or to have a dispensation which is aligned to its area of interest or which aligns to its policies. And the second point, what Marco Rubio said, that they will quarantine the flow of oil into Venezuela. They already have imposed blockade and all sanctions are in place. So therefore, they will ensure that the oil does not flow out and oil flows where America wanted to flow, because after all, Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserve, something to the tune of 300 billion barrels, and it is only exploiting about 1 million barrels a day. So there's a huge opportunity for America to exploit the resource. So therefore, in nutshell, Kriti, I feel that President Trump and American government will ensure that the person who is at the helm in Venezuela toes the American line and is aligned to American interest, and that's how they possibly would like to run Venezuela. Kriti.
Yeah. But how do you weigh in Trump's statement when he says that it will not become another Iraq or Afghanistan? Is it because of the oil reserves of the country or anything else that he might be referring to?
Well, Kriti, there is no parallel between Afghanistan, Iraq, and Venezuela. Well, of course, only parallel is that in both the countries, Iraq and Afghanistan, the governments were changed or the regime changes were there. So also in Venezuela. But if we look at very closely, Trump's mindset or his way of thinking, which he has articulated in the latest national security strategy of America, where it has been categorically mentioned or categorically stated that for America, the Western Hemisphere is very important, and they would like to ensure that per se. Kriti.
Okay, all right. Thanks for your comment, General Dwivedi. Do continue to stay on with me as we tell our viewers now what Japan is saying.